What is good, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
All right, today we are going to be doing another episode in the Forgotten Album series, and today we're going to be going back to 1992, and this is our part four, I believe, in this 1992 year. So definitely, if you haven't checked out the other episodes of the whole series, but also 1992, more than welcome to check them out. I will put them in the description below. But I got three here for you. Now, we are here in 1992, obviously hair metal is pretty much on the way out, but there is still stuff selling and getting out there on radio and such like that. So, and I some of these examples I have here for you today are gonna prove that as well. But you know, it's strange because thing like I said, things are transferring, transitioning, and but now we're gonna start here with the first one, and that is going to be Mitch Malloy's debut album from 1992. Now, this is on a RCA label here and it came out in March of 1992. Now, this is more of a melodic rock AOR type deal, not necessarily hair metal when you think of hair metal, but close enough. Like it's very close enough. People put it in that vein. So I am going to put it here as well. And it goes hand in hand with that kind of stuff. So Desmond Child, or sorry, Sir Arthur Payson actually produced this album, which, some people say is Desmond Child, Sir Arthur, because some people just can't prove who is who, at some point, because I know like Desmond Child does Rat, like Detonator, which is a great album. He also did like Kane Roberts. He also did some other stuff, like for Bon Jovi, for Kiss, Ace Frehley, Alice Cooper, and also he co-written that whole South Gang debut album, which is a really good album as well. So I actually was not aware of that one, but definitely no great album. But anyway, we got here Mitch Malloy's debut album. Now this actually did do pretty well. Now I will say singles wise, because as far as I've seen, I have not seen any like certifications for this album. So take that for what you will. But as far as the singles go, you had the debut or the first single, the Anything at All, that reached top 20 in 1992, guys, which is crazy to think about with this kind of stuff because everyone says, oh, 1990, this stuff's dead. We're moving on to different things, grunge, alternative, death metal, black metal, rap, like all kinds of different shit. Then, so like I said, this stuff is still making its way on the radio. When it's good, it will be heard. You know what I mean? Like you can't hold great songs down or great albums down. But I mean, it's a thing because this is the best way I could kind of describe Mitch Malloy's sound here, because obviously, people that aren't familiar with Mitch Malloy, he did sing in Great White there for a little while, and then he also had a cup of coffee as the singer for Van Halen there in the 90s as well. So that's pretty cool in and of itself. But has plenty of albums with his solo work as well here, and also has new stuff as well, which is really good. But he also had a couple other singles off of this. It was Nobody Wins This War, which is like a slower type feel, ballady feel to it. That went to number 66, I think, on the top 200 Billboard charts. And then the other one, Our Love Will Never Die, which he was on the Jay Leno show, I think. And I would have to, I can't say I've seen a clip of that on YouTube. It might be out there, but he certainly had a little bit of success in 1992 for all things considering. But yeah, definitely the landscape though does no favors in 1992 for any of these albums here. But they do kind of make their way. You'll kind of see like why I chose these three albums here is because they kind of had success for some, relatively speaking, in 1992 and for a couple of them in the 90s as well. So like it's not all doom and gloom, when we're talking 1992. not just because there's great albums, a shit ton of great albums in 1992 that are just lost and forgotten, but that actually had a little bit of success. So, but I will say though, anything at all is an absolutely great single. You could play that for anyone, and I I would be hard pressed to find someone that does not like that song. So the second track, Mission of Love, very good. Third, Nobody Wins This War, which we talked about, kind of like a ballady feel. The other ballad too is Our Love Will Never Die. I dig that. I dig that one as well. That's pretty good. The also another artist that I would say that kind of reminds me of Mitch Malloy style stuff is if anyone remembers Danny Tate. I think his debut album came out in 1990. I have absolutely no idea if he did anything else. I know he ended up like co-writing and help creating songs for other people, but I don't know if he ever did anything himself, which I know I'm pulling that out of my ass as far as like a forgotten album in the artist. So that, but it kind of reminds me a little bit like that, or even maybe like a more hoppier style of Baton Rouge, if anyone's familiar with Baton Rouge, which we do talk about plenty on the channel here. But yeah, no, side A is very good here. You get kind of like a little bit of a bluesy feel with Over the Water. I like that a lot. Side A is really, really good. Side B is fine. I mean, there are a couple weak ones on there, but man, you got what 11 tracks here, and one track is kind of like an intro, so technically you got 10 tracks. And it's very good stuff. And like because this I found this about 6 months or so ago, and man, like I certainly keep visiting anything at all, which is that's the first recommendation off of this album. And also too, a couple other ones I really love and put on different playlists is Nobody Wins This War, like for the ballad playlist. And then Over the Water is really good as well. Cowboy and the Ballerina. I mean, if you're into like the poppy, like mainstream, like radio friendly stuff, that's a good one there for you as well. And then you finish out the album here with Mirror Mirror, just kind of like a slower feel. I don't know necessarily a ballad, but just a slower feeling song here. A little bit of acoustics to send you off on the album, but really good. This album does get overlooked. Mitch Malloy, like I said, he still does stuff today, so definitely check him out. He is on Twitter and such like that, and quite excited to see some new stuff, newer stuff, I would say, because I think his most recent album came out a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken now. So definitely, guys, check out Mitch Malloy and his debut album, and also his newer stuff as well.
Everybody, Gordon Titsworth here from Images of Eden, and you are watching the Krash Kourse YouTube channel with our local homegrown press guy, Trevor Crash Knight, here in York, PA.
All right, so now we are moving into another band here that I got my introduction to them from the soundtrack or the movie, Wayne's World, the first Wayne's World, and that song is Everything About You, and that is going to be Ugly Kid Joe's America's Most Least Wanted. Now, I know you're kind of saying like, hey, they aren't hair metal. Like, obviously, as you can see a picture of them, they're not necessarily hair metal, but this is 1992. Sleaze metal didn't have really a hair metal look, but sleaze metal is in the genre of hair metal. So, but Ugly Kid Joe isn't necessarily sleaze either, but like you do have a couple songs that are on the sleazier side, kind of like Goddamn Devil or Panhandling Prince, Don't Go, really good song there. Great solo as well. But I mean, I kind of compare Ugly Kid Joe as to a defense of why they do get lumped into the hair metal like genre is because I see it as kind of like a dirtier trickster feel to him, or like a dirtier inner city feel trickster to their sound and even their look. But you have some ballads on here, not necessarily your typical ballads, because I would say their second album has a little bit more a couple ballady, more power ballady feel songs than even this song or than even this album does. But I gotta say, the singles, I was actually shocked at some of the certifications and like Billboard charts that this album did and songs did. So the first one was Everything About You, which that did really well over in the UK, did well here. Obviously, it was on Wayne's World soundtrack, so obviously that did get some push there, just in its own right as well. The other singles on here, you had Madman, Neighbor, So Damn Cool, Cats in the Cradle, which is a cover, which is a very good cover actually, because I always say I'm not the biggest cover when you have like 12, 13 tracks on an album. I don't need a cover, but this actually works. I do actually really dig Cats in the Cradles. You got Busy Bee, another single, and then Goddamn Devil is another single. So it looks like they tried to release 7 singles here, and that's absolutely crazy. But that kind of goes hand in hand with it went up to number 27 in the top 200 Billboard chart, which is absolutely crazy to me. That's as high as it got. And then, man, yeah, it did go double platinum. That surprises me. That really, I would not have guessed out of like that's like one of the biggest surprises I've seen. What researching a lot of these albums throughout the years, I can't. I would have never guessed that. I would in a million years for no matter how much money you would have offered me, I wouldn't have guessed this album. Now, not saying that it's bad or isn't deserving of it because it obviously is. Because I remember, because Wayne's World was part of my life when I was younger than 10 years old. I remember probably around 10 anyway. I remember renting it, from Blockbuster or, like a local video store when you could actually rent movies and video games and such. But I remember hearing that song, Everything About You. And I was like, damn, that's a really catchy song, really cool. And then I was like, okay, I gotta buy this album. I gotta find this album. So like I was like in 10th grade or so when I actually got this album and was listening to it, man, I was on the school bus like for like at least like 3 or 4 weeks straight on the school bus, just listening to this on my iPod, or it might have even been a Walkman at that. It might have been my MP3 player. I can't remember exactly what format I was listening to it, but I was listening to this album and like, I was like, damn, this shit's good, and, now, obviously, with the name Ugly Kid Joe, they did go the total opposite way of Pretty Boy Floyd, which kind of gave them inspiration for their name, which it works. Ugly Kid Joe's a cool name, and Pretty Boy Floyd's a cool name. So I both winners and right there as far as band names go. So, but I will say some of my favorite songs on here. Technically, on this album here, you have 13 tracks, but there is a remix of a song here. So technically you got like 12 tracks or so, which not bad. And I could take one off at least, probably make it like a 10, 11 track album and it would be certainly stronger. But man, I mean, with it going double platinum and stuff, there are like a lot of mixed reviews, which is strange because like at the time, 1992, that everything was starting to converge and there wasn't anything totally out of left field. Like Ugly Kid Joe wasn't the only band sound like Ugly Kid Joe somewhat, in like the hair metal scene. So definitely it was like no surprise, but I don't get the hate for the album either because it's a lot of people talk shit on the lyrics. A lot of people talk crap on like just the music, the instrumentation. I don't have no issue with it at all. I like a lot of these lyrics. Very funny, like tongue in cheek lyrics on some things, but it's not overly done or overly cheesy, I would say. But yeah, and with their second album, Menace to Sobriety, which did come out like 3 years later, so you're in like 1995, and obviously didn't do as well. But I think this album is certainly one that a lot of people, I don't hear a lot of people talking about this album, which, yes, it did go double platinum. So why is it on a forgotten album series? But man, like I said, I had this album since I was probably 14, 10th grade or so, around there. And man, no one ever I come across that just says, hey, Ugly Kid Joe. Like I could probably only have I could probably count on the number of times on my hand that I talked to some guy or anyone about Ugly Kid Joe, not including my dad. So yeah, it's certainly strange that it went double platinum and just didn't really have a lot of staying power apparently, and that's crazy. Which it's the time 1992. It's just hard to sustain that success, even if you had it there with your debut album double platinum and high charting singles, and just did not transition to even 1994, just 2 years later. So definitely, guys, check out Ugly Kid Joe if you haven't already. And so some of the songs, Busy Bee, I will say, and also Mr. Record Man is actually like really cool. I know a lot of people talk shit on both those, but I like them. It's like your mid tempo, even like Busy Bee is kind of like really like a heartfelt song, mid tempo heartfelt song, not necessarily a ballad, but very good though. Either way, I like it. Worth checking out. Goddamn Devil, if you want to feel like a little evil. Even like I think I heard Rob Halford even does like a vocal part in this, which I never really thought about, but when I heard about that, I was like, okay, I can hear possibly Rob Halford in the song on certain parts, on the screams anyway. And so yeah, Don't Go is my favorite song probably on here. Track number 6. Just great riff, great solo, just a great song in general. So definitely, guys, check out Ugly Kid Joe's America's Least Wanted. All right, guys, so we are going here to our last one, and that is going to be a band called Jackyl with their debut album. Now, yes, they don't. This is a band that doesn't look like hair metal either, but they got the long hair. They kind of got the southern sleazy look to them, and even like the sound of sleazy. Not necessarily sleaze metal, but like real southern, real dirty feel to them. Not necessarily blues either.
Okay, fellas, let's try one with that Memphis sound. Deep inside my heart, take one.
It's weird because like there's no one that you can really compare Jackyl to. I think they have their own sound. They have their own charm. They have their own feel to them. And I think because they're somewhat from around here, and they come around here a good amount even till this day. And I see them I think like 3 times. And every time I see them, man, they put on a great live show. Jesse sounds great. Everyone sounds great. But certainly recommend seeing them live if you haven't. But they have their own feel to them. And I think that's what gave them success throughout the 90s and even up until this day, because even their modern stuff is good. Because they basically said to the 90s, fuck you. We're going to do what we want to do. We're going to sound like Jackyl for the next 10 albums, basically, all throughout the 90s, early 2000s, and up until today. And they were just like, all right, yeah, we're going to do our thing. If you don't like it, then fuck off. So, that's basically the attitude of Jackyl, and that's just great. It's weird because, like, Jackyl's feel, like, to their songs is tongue-in-cheek and party feel, but it's serious at the same time. It's weird. It's when you listen to like these songs could go on party atmospheres and play them in parties and stuff, but like at the same time, there's other stuff here that has like real mature and very serious. And I think it's hard to get a good mixture of that, especially from a debut album, at least, from a band, and just really good stuff. So like I said, you got that southern feel, you got that attitude, that gritty, almost sleazy sound to him. This did go platinum, actually, which is, to me, it's not crazy because it's a great album, but just for the timing of it and stuff, like I was kind of surprised. But like I said, they do have staying power within the rock and metal community. A lot of people, like even people that don't like hair metal, are like, oh yeah, Jackyl's cool. I like them. They love them live and everything. So, and this is an album that did have 5 singles as well, which is crazy to think about. The Lumberjack. Everyone knows about the Lumberjack. For me, kind of gets played out. I mean, I do like the chainsaw in these songs because, even like the second album, they use a chainsaw in Headed for Destruction. And then I think on the third album, Cut the Crap, I think it is on Cut the Crap, the title track, that is, they had the chainsaw. It works great. And no other band can pull that off except Jackyl, obviously. And that's why no one really even tries it, because it would be corny if it was someone other than Jackyl. But Jackyl owns that shit, and Jesse does a great job with it. But I would say the Lumberjack is the song I visit least off of this album now. Not that it's bad. It's just when people do talk about Jackyl, it's like, oh, Lumberjack, and it's like, okay, there are way better songs on this album than that. So also too, you had I Stand Alone, which the music video is awesome because I remember like coming home from school, getting on YouTube and shit. Like one of my staple music videos was I Stand Alone, because like they get like this long bed tractor trailer, and they're playing in front of Kmart because Kmart wouldn't sell their album, I guess for parental advisory reasons or some shit. And it's just a really cool music video, and just the song is just amazing as well.
Hey, that chainsaws in Kmart, baby!
This is a song that, like I said, is you could put it on a party playlist, but it's like serious too, because like he says, yeah, I grow my hair, but I shit just like you do. You look down on me, but I shit like you do. Like it's cool. Like the lyrics on these songs, like I said, are mature, but yet somewhat immature at the same time. I don't know. It's weird, and Jackyl does great at it. And I think that's why this album has such staying power, and just Jackyl has such staying power throughout the years, because even in their next album, well, all their albums, but their next 3 albums, all the way up until Cut the Crap, like was released in 1997, which is an amazing album for 1997, and I think even stands right up to this album, honestly. So, but the other song, Down on Me, great riff. When you listen to that riff, you're like, that's such a great groove, great riff, and fun. It's just a fun lyrically song. It's just it when that song comes on, anyone can get down to that song, no doubt about it. And then here you go with another single, Dirty Little Mine. Here's your tongue-in-cheek style song, but man, it works. It's not cheesy. It's not like talk dirty me poison cheesy kind of stuff. Like definitely not. I would say Dirty Little Mine, like people that don't like that style of like lyrical content, they would listen to the song and not catch really what's going on or what he's kind of talking about. And it's just so it's just ear candy to you. And you're like, oh man, he is actually talking about like this kind of shit, like cherry pie and stuff, but it just sounds really serious and cool at the same time. So, but yeah, definitely Dirty Little Mine, an awesome song as well. And then here you go, you got a serious song that they released in 1993, the last single off this album, When Will It Rain. When Will It Rain and Back Off Brother are like 2 songs on here that are like super serious, that you could put on any kind of mainstream radio, and I think it would still work even to this day. It would still work. But the highest charting one out of all of them was Down on Me, rightfully so. Great, but out of those 5, it's how can you pick one that's worse than the other? They're all really good. But like I said, though, guys, I would probably say for me, my favorites would probably be I Stand Alone. That would probably be my favorite song off here. But man, Dirty Little Mine's fun. Down on Me. The first side A is just absolutely amazing. You got like 5. Okay, so I'll cut it off here at Redneck Punk, the 5th track. And then you got 6 tracks then to finish off the album. Man. And then you have a very tongue-in-cheek song, She Loves My Cock, at the end. And on the clean version of the album, that song did not get put on. So some people had a 10-track album. But either way, I mean, it's cool, but it's not my favorite song. It's very borderline even just making the iPod, because like sometimes when it does come on, I do skip it just because like whatever. Just a bullshit fun song. So definitely, guys, Jackyl. It did go platinum though, so that I recommend checking out Jackyl's all of their discography, because there's not one album that they just fail to do anything perfect on it, especially if you like this stuff, especially if you like the debut. They do not stray far away from it at all on any album, in my opinion. And it's just, Jackyl's one of those bands that, especially if you're not on the East Coast, they might, or in Sturgis, that are kind of forgotten about. And some people don't really talk about it too much. So, but guys, yeah, that pretty much wraps up. I think that's all I have to really say for these 3 albums. It's just albums that are kind of in the same vein as each other, because they did do they had songs off here that were successful at a time when people were not into this stuff anymore, or seriously, it was dwindling seriously.
Me. This sucks more than anything that has ever sucked before.
I think that's why I wanted to choose these 3 albums in particular. And we had Mitch Malloy's debut. Anything at all, check that song out off that album. Ugly Kid Joe, America's Least Wanted. Certainly, Everything About You or Don't Go. You know, everything about you, man. Like I said, I heard that song ever since I was like probably 10 years old, and I still listen to that song and have fun with it. Like to me, that's not overplayed, or I mean, no one really plays it, but to me, it's not overplayed. Like I didn't overplay it over the years, so still sounds really good to me. And we got here Jackyl's debut, definitely the great Jackyl, awesome stuff. And check out "I Stand Alone," as that would be probably my favorite song off the album. But guys, let me know what you think of these three albums. Let me know some more albums. Like I said, I got probably 100 more albums to do throughout this whole Forgotten Album series yet. And the early 90s was a great period for great albums, not necessarily for the scene, obviously, as it was dying, but just great albums everywhere you looked, man. It was absolutely amazing. And that's what I love to talk about on this channel is the forgotten and unknown bands and albums from that time and also the present. So if you like what we're doing here, click the like button, click the subscribe button, hang out with us for a little while. And also hang out with us for live streams on Fridays. We love doing that. This is the stuff that we talk about. We talk anything metal, honestly. And we just have a lot of different content creators from different channels as well come on and give their piece on these albums and such and everything metal. So definitely, guys, we would love to have you there. And if you guys really enjoyed this video, stay out of that collateral damage, first of all. And also check out the rest of the series right here.
Yeah, I wrote that. It's called I Want to Rock Your Body. And then in parentheses it says to the break of dawn.